Guys, I failed the Florida real estate license exam twice. I did get it on the third try, and this video is really to help you avoid making the same mistakes I made and give you the tips you need to pass. My name is Gladia. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a product expert, and I just made the transition from residential wholesaling to commercial. And now I have recently gotten my real estate license here in the state of Florida. And my focus now is all commercial. So I'm literally documenting my journey entering the commercial world through brokeraging, ownership, investing, wholesaling, all those aspects. I also tie in the four most important tiers in my life, which is finances, relationship, health, and spirituality. So, first off, a lot of the questions I've received is why even get your license if you're wholesaling? And that's a very valid point. I've been wholesaling for the last 4 years from California, and that thought never crossed my mind. But coming here to a whole new market and transitioning to commercial, I found that adding my real estate license, although it's not needed in wholesaling, it just adds another tool to the tool belt and a way to, again, use it as strategy. I'm already doing the same thing in sourcing off market deals and having these conversations with investors, sellers, and another way to get paid. So why not? While that process was really challenging, I learned so much from my failures. This is just some tips to share with you guys here to share what worked, what didn't work, and to really help you guys pass. And granted, I will add, everyone learns differently. Now, there are some people that don't need as much time to review things to take a test. I know from my past experiences, I haven't studied for a test like this in a really, really long time, probably since college. And so coming back to that mode, it took me some time to do that. So again, take this with a grain of salt. Just to give you some background in terms of how to actually get your license, at least here in Florida. I know every state is different. It all starts with a pre-licensing course. Now, the course consists of a 63-hour pre-licensing course required, again, for Florida real estate applicants. I went through Gold Coast schools. There's so many other options. Gold Coast is a local, very popular option in South Florida, but if you were to look it up, there's so many other options for you. The cost of that, I did everything with all of the resources included around $400 for that course. I would say it typically ranges. I mean, there's some cheaper ones, but again, you really want to have a course that really leads you in the right direction, gives you the proper information so that it actually sticks. So I would say somewhere between 150 to 400 would be the price point for that. And then the certification process. So once you complete that 63-hour course, which is just kind of going through a whole ton of videos, you'll be tested along the way, but it's like practice tests. Is you take a 100 question online test at home, and this is all done online. So I'll admit I had Quizlet open while I had this test. I was technically did cheat because my thing was, let me just get through it and then I'll study really hard on the cram course that was provided through Gold Coast. Pre-licensing course that you used will give you a certification, email it to you. You print that out. That's your evidence that, hey, I passed the pre-licensing course. And then the next step is to actually sign up through the state. So once you've signed up through the state, you're going to go online and you get the emails for everything. I needed to get a background check and fingerprint, which is about $40. And then signing up for like the state and setting myself up, I think was like $60. I can't remember exactly. And then I had to pay an additional fee to actually take the test, which is around $57 or just slightly under $60. So all in all, what's that? That's 400 plus like $40 plus 60. That's almost like over like $600 if I have my math right. So it's quite an investment. Again, if you don't have those means, like work towards it, but just know you have to invest some money. The other step is preparing for the state exam. Now, I learned the state exam actually has 103 questions in total. I don't know why. I think because certain questions you are actually scored on and some you're not. I don't know. It's like a weird thing they have set up. So it covers real estate law, principles, math, vocabulary, zoning, all that stuff that is taken. So like I said, it's $57 per attempt. So guys, I paid this 3 times. I paid this 3 times and the passing score is 75 out of 100 questions, right? Coming into the state exam, I was a little bit overwhelmed. I'm working a 9 to 5. I'm still hitting my targets. For those who don't know, I'm in commercial real estate already as as wholesaling, right? So I'm prospecting out to people in between, my 9 to 5. So I was still, hitting all those targets and then trying to study at the end of the day or, the beginning of the day. So I signed up for Gold Coast Cram Session, which is just like a weekend where like Friday through Sunday, where they have like these older instructors or, they're retired realtors, I think, or brokers that know the laws or know they know the material inside and out. And it's literally, they cover the sections. There's one day, but it's literally like 5 to 8 hours where they're literally, one day they cover math, the other day they cover like law and zoning, and then the other day they cover the other materials. And it's like you're in a classroom, but it's like it's online, so you're not in person. And so for me, that I've learned that doesn't really work. So I was literally taking screenshots of the screen. They don't give you the recording after, they don't give you anything before. It's just like, hey, whatever resources was provided by Gold Coast, use that. And I think just we've evolved in terms of how we evaluate or how we study for stuff, or how we, for many of us, we've purchased a course at some point, right, in our lives. And so we're used to having everything compiled in like a nice, clean interface where we can access it from our phones. The way Gold Coast had it, it just is, it's very old school. So that was the one thing that I don't think I really mentally prepared. And we all say it's all mental game. And I think that lack of preparation, I didn't study as much. I think just the way the material just felt all scrambled. So my brain felt all scrambled. So I failed on the first attempt. I was actually looking, I don't think I have it in front of me, but my first attempt was a 57 out of 100, guys. That is like really, really low. There's a lot of things I actually really confronted in this whole study, in this whole experience, is how I view things now versus how I used to view things. So I think I know a lot of the questions in my first initial attempt, I probably didn't read them right. There was a lot of little things that I just didn't read in the textbook or reviewed. I'm just going to, learn from these mistakes. I had a very positive attitude. I told myself, okay, I'm not doing the Gold Coast Cram course again. I didn't really like it. It's not really how I study. But again, this is where everyone differs. Maybe for some people that is really helpful. They're able to capture the material a lot better. But for me, it just didn't work. So I actually invested in the Florida Cram course by Magnolia School of Real Estate. And I will actually provide you guys a link to that. I want to say cram course is around, for me, it was like, hey, whatever I need to do to take this test and make sure I pass with flying colors, I'm going to do it. Just the way they have the video lessons and the course style format, you'll see you have practice tests available anytime, audio recordings to reinforce learning as you go. It just worked, just the flexibility of being able to rewatch the videos. With the Gold Coast, it was like an all day thing. And like for me, I think we're just at a point where we can't sit in one place. And granted, we did have breaks, but 9 to 5 on a Saturday and Sunday, where you literally have to sit, my attention span is just not there. But at the end of the day, the cram course is really there to review things. If you didn't really study in the pre-course, which, technically I kind of skimmed through it all again. It's supposed to be kind of a refresher, so it's not meant to like go through the details. But for me, it's like I just needed that structure that Magnolia School has, so that worked out for me. Now on the second try, I think I came in with a little bit more confidence because I had more information. I had more concepts of what is required in the test. I've done it before. I kind of knew what chapters to focus on. But again, there are some aspects where I did study for it, but again, just something wasn't clicking. I failed by 1 point. I got a 74 out of 100. I feel like that's even worse than the first one, because the first one's like, okay, yeah, I really failed. But the second one, it's like I failed by 1 point. There's one question in the test that I could have just gotten right. But again, I'm a glass half full type of person. Anyone else probably would have seen that as like, this is a sign it's not meant for me. I'm not going to do all this again and spend $60 in a test. I was like, you know what? The universe is testing me. There's obviously something that I'm not doing right, and I need to fix that. And this goes with entrepreneurship. So all those people that want to be entrepreneurs, all those people that want to be real estate agents, that want to be successful, even if you pass this course and you don't have that mentality, you're not going to be a really good agent. you're probably going to quit within the first year because you just don't have that grit, that mindset. You need more than to be book smart, right? You need to just have that understanding that you're going to fail. So what are you going to do about it after you fail? So I came in with that approach, that mindset of like, I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm going to kill it on the third try. And I recall back to my driver's license test. It took me like 4 tries of the written test to get it right. And after the fourth time, it's just, it's just sometimes you have to fail to figure it out. Right. And so it made me a better driver because of that. And so I look back here where it's like, oh, I just need to take my time, be more efficient, and be more intentional. Again, that's really the theme for me this year in how I evaluate, how I test things. And then it's just things just start clicking a little bit more. So I printed out all the tests. This is a copy of all the tests I printed out from Magnolia Real Estate School, all the tests I took. What I did, and this is definitely a hack. If you do fail, you get 2 pages. That's how I know you fail or you pass. If you pass, you only get 1 page that says you pass. If you get 2 pages, that means you failed because they basically print out every chapter and let you know out of how many questions, which ones you got wrong. So it's actually a guide. And I would use that guide if you do fail, which, we're trying to go in on a pass on the first try. But if you do fail on the first attempt, second attempt, take those results because it'll show, okay, if there were 7 questions in chapter 8 and you only scored 1 or 2 points, that's a chapter you need to focus on. So I use that as a guide. So on the third attempt, I took my failures in the last test and the first test as well. And I said, okay, which chapters did I really not do well in? And then I focus on those. And then what I really love about Magnolia School of Real Estate is they have tests that focuses on each chapter. So they have 10 questions for each chapter. So I would then focus on those specific chapters and then like retake as many times until I got the answers and understood it. And then one other thing that I did that is also another product that they offer is the audio supplement. And this isn't to replace the cram course. It's just a way as like an additional buddy, so to speak, to the cram course. So, and she goes through every chapter. So she has chapters 1 through I think 19, and she does a brief overview over audio. So if I'm driving, if I'm working out or walking, I can just play this chapter. And I will tell you guys that I guarantee I got questions right on the third attempt because of the audio supplement. Had I not had that, I still would have passed, but I think I gained more points because of it, because she goes over minor details that aren't necessarily in the cram. Maybe they're in the actual test that you take, but the way she explains it is just so phenomenal. So that is one tip I would highly suggest. So I passed on the third attempt. And like I said, you get 1 page to show, hey, you passed, but you don't see your scores. You don't see what you got. I have to request to get that. It's weird. So it's like if you failed, you see how many points you scored out of 100. But if you pass, you can't see your scores. So I am very curious. So I am going to actually request that I receive that. But okay, I already gave you guys a tip earlier on what I recommended, which is if you did fail, this is only if you failed and you've taken the test. See what you failed at, see what chapters you failed at, and then go back to your cram course and study on those specific chapters. You still want to take it on the other chapters to make sure you're still sharp on those, but that alone will allow you to focus on what you got right, what you got wrong, those kinds of things. But I will say, first off, invest in the right resources. Now, Gold Coast was a great course. I probably would have gone with, which I found out later, Magnolia School of Real Estate has a real estate pre-course. I think they have it. I was looking at it earlier. So it's $300. So it's actually cheaper than Gold Coast. A video for each chapter that you go through, you get quizzed on. So I would have probably gone with Magnolia had I heard about it. It's just, again, this is where it's like everyone's done Gold Coast, South Florida. So I just went with it. But invest in the right resources for you. It all depends on it. But again, if you're the type of person that needs videos, audios, practice tests, and you need it in a location where you can access it easily through your phone, definitely use Magnolia School of Real Estate. Gold Coast, again, it's very old school the way they have it structured. But hey, I passed. The second thing is master the vocabulary and key concepts. So one of the biggest things for me is I'm already in real estate, right? So there's a lot of concepts I already knew. They talk about subject to, they talked about due on sale clauses. Those are things that I was already aware of, but those are still things that you have to know in order to pass a test. So definitely study those, especially if you don't come from any real estate background. If you do have some real estate background, you're already gonna know. So it's just making sure you review those and feel comfortable doing that. The other thing I would say is practice consistently. Take those practice tests as many times as you can. Print them out. So there were some where she didn't have them as a quiz that you can do it online. You have to print them out. And I think there is something powerful in that. Like, how often do we print stuff out anymore? We don't really do that. And so there's just something about writing things in, circling things in that is just really awesome. And the other thing is using those audios on the go. I'm telling you guys, that thing was game changer for me, is buying the additional audio supplement. But again, the cram course that Magnolia School has is, does have the audio so you can listen to it on the go. But a lot of times you kind of want to see, because she does break down the math problems a little bit. So that is one other thing. And with the math alone, I see, and I think this is again the mental limiting beliefs I had, which was that I wasn't good at math. And I think that was always a story I told myself. Math, I kind of brush it off as like, I'm not attached to that. I'm not good at math. Me and math don't get along. But the math concepts are really simple. And the way Magnolia break things down makes them so much easier to comprehend. So you can, and she actually walks you through a whiteboard and does the problems there with you. So if you're just following along, you then memorize kind of the formulas that she's using and the shortcuts that she uses to make things simple. I think a lot of times we overcomplicate things, especially when it comes to math. So definitely practice those math questions as well, writing things out. The other one is being prepared to retake. So I found out that the Florida real estate exam is one of the 6 most difficult tests in the country. I don't know what 1 through 5 are, but in talking with other people, even in California, which they say is also a hard test, I think they say Florida is harder. Be prepared to retake it. Like, come as prepared as you can before you sign up for taking the state exam. But I think, again, failing is part of the process. Now, would I have wanted to spend over $100 to retake it twice? No, I would have preferred, of course, to just pay the $57 once and I'm good. But it just is what it is. It's your mindset. Are you gonna, if you fail, and it's just life, right? If you're gonna fail and you're not gonna get back up, you're not gonna try again. What does that say about you? So again, just come in with the expectations of like, hey, it's all right if I fail. It's just one hurdle I have to learn from and adjust, pivot, and I'm going to retake it again. I know people that have retaken the test 6 times and they're doing great in real estate. So I think it's more about the mindset more than anything. And lastly, I will say budget for the cost. Like I said, my pre-course was $400. There's some cheaper that are out there. Fingerprint registration through the state, $80. The exam attempts 57 times 3, which is 170, so almost $200. All in all, like almost $700, guys. And that's not actually, that doesn't even include the cram course I purchased with Magnolia Real Estate, $79, which is highly worth it. And then her audio supplements, I think is like $30. So $110. So definitely over $700 that I paid to get my real estate license. So these are things that just aren't talked about. You have to pay to play. You have to invest in yourself, and you can't cheap your way into success. The next steps after passing. So once you've passed, congratulations. You want to make sure you join a brokerage. So you can go these 2 years without being part of a brokerage. You just won't be officially licensed. You'll technically be inactive. It's activated once you've joined a brokerage and are employed by them. So my goals this week is to set up meetings with brokerages. Now, remember, my main thing is commercial and focusing on industrial. So I'm going to want to join a brokerage that is cool with cold calling, is flexible. They kind of understand the concept and also allow for ownership options. So a lot of times, if I find these opportunities and maybe it's something that the group or the brokerage wants to acquire, I'd love to be able to take ownership and bypassing part of my fee to do that. That's already a video I actually did a few months ago on you can do that with off-market deals now without your license. So again, I think it's also important to find brokers that aligns with your goals and your long-term vision and the direction that you want to go. So all in all, Failing doesn't define you. Just want to make that clear. Persistency and strategy do. It's how you get up. I even told myself if I fail the third time, I'm going to get back in there, but I'm not. I'm not going to fail. Like I was so confident coming in there. So you really want to get in there feeling so good. And the highlight of this is I'm really excited to grow and expand my real estate career in this and seeing something totally different than what I'm accustomed to in the wholesale world, being in the industrial business and expanding on my brand, but also the credibility that it comes with it. Now, I know there's a lot more regulations that I have to keep in mind, but at the end of the day, nothing builds credibility like saying, hey, I'm a realtor, I'm a broker, this is what I do, this is what I've closed. All of that is super encouraged. So find the right resources, believe in your ability to succeed, and you're good. Don't sweat it. If this was helpful, comment down below. If you failed, if the Florida real estate exam, any questions that you do have, let me know. But till next time, as I always say, invest in yourself.